joining us now from the Kevin O'Connor Show, the great KOC. You can get the Kevin O'Connor Show, all podcast platforms and YouTube as well. What's up, KOC?
How you guys doing today? What's up?
So KOC is a music guy as well. Do you find Bare Naked Ladies intolerable?
I don't care for the song. I mean,
Okay.
if there's like a walk-in song there, that wouldn't be my choice.
Okay. So, KOC, Sixers get Labaron Philon Jr. of Alabama last night. What do you think of, first, just him as a player? I think you had him 12 on your big board, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I had him ranked in the lottery on my big board, my personal board. And I think with Phylon, undoubtedly, it's like a steal from a value standpoint when you just consider his immense skill level. 22 points per game last year at Alabama, improved dramatically as a three-point shooter, improved as a scorer. And like, I think I remember there was a game earlier in the year against St. John's and Gonzaga, I think back-to-back games, if I remember correctly, two really good college basketball defenses where he had 29 points and 30 points, superb efficiency, scoring with his left hand at the rim, using pump fakes from the mid-range area to get into the floater, and then from three-point range with step backs and pull-ups. He has immense skill level. There's no doubt about that as both a scorer and as a playmaker, and he's a competitive player. Like I think, we saw in the NBA Finals with, Jaylen Brunson playing hard. He's not the best defender, but he puts in effort. It's just I do worry, Spike, about the fit with Maxey, though. Like there's just two small guards. I think you get one guy who's small, but not two.
Is there a comp you have for him? Like who would you sort of compare him, or who's his game remind you of?
Yeah, like an upside comp, and you know what would be good, an upside comp, and if it goes wrong comp, if you could do that off the top of your head.
I mean, so within my draft guide over at Yahoo Sports, I have in there as like a lower end comp Dennis Schröder, and that'd be a successful player to get in the 20s. Schröder has been a really good journeyman point guard for a long time with his speed and the toughness he brings to the floor. As a higher end guy, I think I in the guide Rod Strickland, more of a throwback name.
Wow,
with his,
man, they don't know about Rod Strickland.
They don't. These kids don't know about Rod Strickland.
I mean, like he's a really good below the rim finisher at the time, not like an explosive guy, but like kind of a modern style package that he had. So Strickland came to mind. And I think like one of the interesting comps, and I don't totally agree with it, but like kind of like a miniature version of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I've seen some people throw out there in the sense that with like the herky jerkiness, the sudden movements, like the quick change of directions, he undoubtedly is an incredible creator off the dribble. And I think the reason why I gave it a B draft grade in the draft guide is because like with Maxey and Edgecombe, I want to see Edgecombe playing some two. I want to see the Sixers getting bigger. I want to have them have more support behind and around Joel Embiid. And look, I think Phylon is like a great pick from a value standpoint, but I do have real concerns about the fit and whether this means the Philly actually cares at all about like winning right now. If this is purely just about value and that's it.
Yeah, so if I could play devil's advocate there, because we, when we talked on the show yesterday, when we talked on the podcast, now I loved Phylon watching them on YouTube. We hardly talked about guards because we just figured they would take a big or a wing. But then you think about the Sixers situation. Like, they didn't have anybody to handle the ball after Maxey last year. You were giving it to VJ. He's not really equipped for it. Quentin Grimes, not even signed, but not really equipped for it. And then you think about the Knicks. Now, I know everybody's just going to think about the Knicks afterwards, but there were a few guys when Jaylen Brunson wasn't on the floor, or you wanted him off ball for a moment, from Alvarado and Deuce McBride. And, so I guess if you're in the Sixers position, you're sort of deficient everywhere. And if you get an opportunity to take a guy who's really, really good, who might be better than whoever the forward is there, maybe you just make the talent decision rather than the fit decision.
I think it's a really good point. I mean, ultimately, like you mentioned Alvarado for the Knicks, we saw in that epic Game 4 comeback the Knicks had against the Spurs. How'd they do it in the fourth quarter? It was putting Alvarado out there. We saw Landry Shamet, another smaller player, he's only 6'3", 6'4", have really important minutes for the Knicks in their finals run. And so I do think there is something to do that. And, for all the crying earlier in the year, and understandably so, for getting rid of Jared McCain, another smaller guy.
Yes.
Who, was an important part of the rotation with his ball handling and creation for Philly. And then for Oklahoma City, he was pivotal in their run to the Western Conference Finals. So I do think there's, like, from a I don't know, like from a team building philosophy standpoint, it is, I think, worth thinking about how much is it really a deficiency if you have two smaller guys? Like, are we past the days in which, like, you remember Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum,
Yes.
those two guys, smaller guards for the Blazers? It mattered with them during that era, and it also mattered because both of those guys were horrific defenders. Maxey is a really good defensive player. He hustles, he plays hard, he's strong, and Phylon at least puts in effort. And so maybe it doesn't actually matter your size in the backcourt as long as you're putting in great effort, because you can be the best defender in the world and still, like, there's nothing you can do against the best offensive players.
Kevin O'Connor from Yahoo Sports and the Kevin O'Connor Show joining us now to talk about Labaron Philon Jr., the Sixers pick out of Alabama. I was also sort of thinking, there is irony in trading away a small guard to draft then a small guard. Now, different leadership, of course. But what I came to, and I saw that, and it was frustrating for me for a moment, but I was pissed off that they got rid of Jared McCain because I thought they could use Jared McCain. So I can't, on one side, be upset that they got rid of the small guard and then be upset. I could say, hey, that's ironic or that's strange that would happen. But at the end of the day, I just want people who are good at basketball. And I also think the Sixers were deficient in sort of like creation and isolation. It really was like Paul George is the only real ISO guy on the team. It's not really Maxey. So he seems like an exciting player. Was there anyone that was picked below him in the first round last night that you would have said, hey, that probably would have made more sense for the Sixers?
I mean, in all of my mocks, pretty much, for 22 with Philadelphia, I tended to have a big there.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Visar from North Carolina, still on the board right now. I would have liked there for Philadelphia. Terrace Reed would have been intriguing. Chris Sinak, who ended up going 27th to Boston. I was just thinking a big for the Celtics. I think even Sergio De La Rey, if you want to talk about wings, like you said earlier, Spike, you guys were thinking about wings, forwards, bigs.
Yeah.
Like Sergio De La Rey, I'm really high on him. I had him 20th on my board. So I think somebody like that would have made sense for Philadelphia. But ultimately, Phylon was the highest rated player I had on my board. So I think everything you're talking about when it comes to there's deficiencies everywhere for Philadelphia. Maybe you just take the best player available and you see how it works out. And maybe they have this amazing dynamic backcourt and you fill in the blanks elsewhere down the line. Because this team, maybe they acknowledge that they're not going to be a championship team next year or the year after that. And it's just about getting a good player, and it's as simple as that. And so I respect it from Philadelphia's standpoint. And I do think, the irony aspect, Spike, that you hit on, when it comes to trading away McCain and then drafting a guard here, another small guard, I do think with Phylon, there is a chance, Daryl Morey's we got 4 picks thing.
Yes.
He might turn out to be a good take if Phylon turns into the player that a lot of people think he could be.
Oh, if he's great, it works out. I still do not, and I would tell Daryl this to his face, I still do not agree with the trade. There was always a chance that you could pick somebody at 22 that works out great. And I think Ike and I were talking earlier, KOC, about the Maxey thing. I think part of the next couple of years, because you're not winning a championship in the next couple of years, is making Maxey's life good. And I think having a guy who is an effort guy, is a guy that he'll want to be around, and also a guy that can make his life easier by not having to play 43 minutes a game, is you really need, because Maxey is prime now, you really have to get through the next 2 years without him thinking to himself, I'm sick of the weight of this entire organization with no chance to win a championship. And I think a guard can actually help with that as much as a big could.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I mean, so it's not on his shoulders to have to create everything.
Yep. Go ahead, Ike. I thought you were saying. Well, I was going to ask about Giannis, but there you go.
Great minds think alike. I was going to ask him the same thing.
KOC, what'd you think of the Giannis trade?
I think from the Bucks standpoint, calculated risk to take the pieces, the parts, instead of the lone prize in Jaylen Brown. Personally, I would have taken the Jaylen Brown package, but we don't exactly know how much more Milwaukee was demanding from Boston. The thing that, if I were a Bucks fan, the thing that would really infuriate me is the stuff I'm hearing about what Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Bucks, prioritized in this. I reported on my podcast that Haslam wanted the Heat deal over the Celtics deal because he was worried a year from now Jaylen Brown would want out after dealing with Myles Garrett wanting out of the Cleveland Browns, after dealing with the Giannis Antetokounmpo saga. So he had this fear of it happening again. But also I had heard that he didn't want to help Boston again because they traded Drew Holiday to the Celtics. Boston then won a finals. He didn't want to trade Giannis to Boston and then have them go win another finals. To me, that is thinking about the competition instead of just thinking about yourself and getting the best return. And if they were able to get multiple firsts, a young player, and Jaylen Brown, who just finished 6th in MVP voting, instead of just this poo-poo platter from the Miami Heat, I think that would have been a better return. That said, we don't know every little detail from what Boston was actually offering.
I like the poo-poo platter thing. That was pretty
Not
good.
now. Ike is not a Chinese food guy. It doesn't mean a bad platter. It means a bunch of different things. So Ike famously does not like Chinese food. A poo-poo platter is like an appetizer where you get like ribs and egg rolls, and it doesn't mean a poop platter.
Well, how about like you don't like the Americanized Chinese food? Like you don't like the Americanized Chinese food, but how about like real Chinese food?
I probably wouldn't like that even more.
No, that's not up Ike's alley.
I do like egg rolls though. That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
KOC, last thing. Now you mentioned the Celtics. We always want to see the Celtics in chaos. Unfortunately, they've won a lot of games over the last several years. Now Jaylen Brown doesn't get traded. Do you think they should trade Jaylen Brown, or do you think they would have to trade Jaylen Brown? What happens with the Celtics now?
I think they should trade Jaylen Brown to answer the first part there. I mean, I don't know which teams exactly are interested. There's a lot of, mixed rumblings out there. I do think anything involving Jaylen Brown and, another team is going to be really quiet compared to the Giannis stuff. Everything was just leaking out of Milwaukee. They're just trying to drive up the price. It's going to be quiet with Jaylen Brown. It's just going to be a report out of nowhere once that inevitably happens. But I do think for the Celtics, you tried to trade him a decade ago pretty much to try to go get Kawhi Leonard, and Kawhi, the Spurs wanted the DeMar DeRozan deal. You've tried to trade him for Kevin Durant and a bunch of guys over the years. And then this one, after he's 6th in MVP voting, drags the team to a 2nd seed. I'd imagine for Jaylen Brown, he feels more slighted than ever. This is somebody who, talks about proving people wrong and all that. Even the GM, Brad Stevens, his former head coach as well, from when he was a rookie, even after this year, he still doubted you and tried to trade you for Giannis. So I'd imagine Jaylen Brown's not happy. Maybe the Boston Celtics try to fix it, but I think other teams are going to be trying to circle that situation and try to get Jaylen from Boston. And I think we'll probably see the Celtics take a step back next year unless they get some awesome return that's going to be unexpected.
All right, KOC. Well, the very best NBA, like a national basketball podcast, is Kevin O'Connor, the Kevin O'Connor Show at Yahoo Sports. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts and YouTube as well. KOC, and if there's draft, the second round is tonight, so KOC will have the full coverage of that. He's got his big board and his draft coverage over at Yahoo Sports. So KOC, thank you as always.
Appreciate it, brother.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, Kiss.